Hello everyone, Benevolent History here, and I'm here to give you another live commentary battle on the grassy flatlands. I'm playing as the Carthaginians, and my opponent, who I think his name is an Aztec god, Huitzilopochtli. I'm not exactly big on pronouncing Aztec gods, but that's an interesting game to find in a. That's an interesting name to find in a Rome-based genre game. Let's see. Oh yeah, I have 4 Sacred Band Cav, 2 Numidian mercenaries, 6 slingers, and 5 Sacred Band. And you can see here right now, I'm forming a double slinger line. And again, like the previous Carthaginian video I posted up a long time ago, I kind of fail with it, but it's alright. The slingers don't die that much. They don't gain that many. They don't get killed that easily. Anyway, let's see. I think this basically for this battle, my opponent brought a very heavy cavalry component. I mean, ridiculously heavy. His whole tactics seem to be based upon owning me with heavy cav. I think that's a common misconception that beginning players have, is the fact that they think that heavy cav just wins everything. Well, yeah, cavalry is the most important aspect of this game, but they just bring so heavy. They just bring all cav, and they don't realize that bringing all cav, especially against a faction like Carthage or any strong phalanx faction, is the fact that you could run into the possibility of the fact that you might win the cav, but you will lose the infantry fight. Also, since he brought so much cav, you can see that he only brought like four archer units, and with Macedon against Carthage, if you're the Macedonian player, I really highly suggest you should bring way more archers, like at least 8. I mean, 4 Cretans and 4 archers will do wonders against Carthage, because then you could at least counter Carthage's infantry superiority. Because at the end game, if you let your archers survive as Macedon, at the end game you could pwn those Sacred Band. Now the plan I have here, you can see, is that I'm using 2 Numidian mercenaries on the right. Right now they're hidden. You can see they're hiding by the little forest icon on the top left corner of the unit card. I basically positioned my whole entire army to the left, and and my Numidian mercenaries are hiding in the right, so that my opponent will feel compelled to face me. So his flank will be exposed to my Numidian mercenary unit on the right. I forgot to comment that he had 6. I believe he had 6 like gold companion cav. Now on a one-on-one fight, Sacred Band cav will beat companion cav, because the Sacred Band cav have slightly better stats, even though the charge is not as good. However, you can see that although my 5 Sacred Band infantry are gold, while his 5 Royal Pikemen are pretty weak. I believe they're like very minimal upgrades. You can see here I'm positioning all 4 of my Sacred Band cav to my left. The reason why I want to do that is I want him to feel compelled to mass all his cav in order to face mine, because I want him to think that he could totally own my cav in just one blow, because I'm making them look exposed, and I'm somewhat threatening his flank. So I want him to combine all his cav, so that he'll have all his cav on his right flank, and thus my Numidian mercenaries will be able to attack his slingers unmolested from his heavy cav. Yeah, you can see he's moving his heavy cav right now to his right flank, and so that means my Numidian mercenaries will be able to pop up without having his heavy cav in his way. And right now I'm positioning my all my troops backwards, because I want his army to get closer to my Numidian mercenaries. Now, I guess I'll talk about Carthage itself as a faction. Carthage mainly relies upon its heavy infantry, its phalanx infantry, the Sacred Band, because the Sacred Band infantry is the best infantry unit in the game. I mean, it's the best phalanx infantry in the game. Against urban cohorts or any Roman infantry, it'll obviously lose, but it's the best phalanx faction in the game. Well, it has the best phalanx infantry, and however, Carthage has pretty weak missiles because the best it can bring is slingers and Balearic slingers, and slingers are not as good as archers. They have less range. They can't shoot flaming missiles. So Carthage's missile factor really sucks. And so if you're Carthage against a faction like Macedon or Pontus, you'll most likely lose the archer battle because of the fact you have slingers. However, Carthage's cavalry, Carthage has few of the pretty good light cav. They have the Numidian mercenary, which is just a little bit more expensive version of the best Jav cav in the game, the Numidian cav. So basically, Carthage has very good Jav cav. They have pretty cheap light cav. They have the round shield cav and the long shield cav. Those two light cavs are pretty decent. However, Carthage's heavy cav, the Sacred Band cav, I don't recommend bringing it in huge quantities because it's not that good. I mean, it only has a charge of 6, and really companion cavalry are generally better because if you get off that charge, you'll be able to win. Anyway, at this point in the battle, he moves up close enough, and I send up all my slingers up to attack his troops. I kind of microed pretty badly of my slingers. I didn't control them very well. Anyway, I threw my Numidian cav at the back. You see, they're coming from behind. Yeah, and I accidentally told one of my slingers to charge forward and melee attack his archers. That slinger unit died. Oh well, it'll come back from routing. And one of the mistakes that my opponent made right off the bat was the fact that he didn't really protect his archers that well. I don't think he noticed it until he found that his archers were routing. And you can see here, only then his royal pikemen are being sent to the back. At the same time, while his royal pikeman is moving backwards, I'm pushing up my Sacred Band infantry. I want to engage as quickly as possible because I have the infantry superiority. So the longer my infantry fights, the more likelihood I'll be able to win that battle. You can see I'm purposely not engaging all of my infantry units at once because of the fact that my opponent has a cavalry superiority. So keeping infantry units in reserve, I'm able to force him to attack me and thus strain his micromanagement. So basically, he'll have to force the attack on me, while I'm basically just falling back with my Sacred Band. I don't have to engage all of my infantry against his. At the same time, I'm sending one of my Sacred Band cav out quickly to try and do a hammer and anvil on the other flank because he massed his cav, and obviously I'm retreating my own cav because I have no intentions at all of fighting his head on or I'll lose badly. Though I do make a little bit of a mistake. My cavalry walk a bit, so they get caught somewhat, and my slingers are just walking. Yeah. I'm also ordering some of my Sacred Band spearmen to attack his cav, but that Sacred Band spearman will get killed. And you can see here that I've sacrificed one unit of my Sacred Band cav to hold his companion cav in place, while the rest of my cav swing out and attack his royal pikemen and hammer and anvil. I think my opponent was relying on the fact that his infantry will fix mine in place, and then his superior cav will turn the tide by doing massive hammer and anvil strikes. Now, the weakness in that is the fact that Macedon's real strength against real strength against Carthage relies on the fact that Macedon has a much better missile component, and since he did not include a very strong missile component, he was playing by weaker cav essentially and weaker infantry. And I think you missed that. I forgot to mention that. While his general was routing, I actively ordered one of my Numidian mercenaries, one of my light cav, to actively seek out to kill the general. I highly suggest doing this with like one unit of light cav. Like, if your opponent's general routes, I suggest chasing that routing general unit with the light cav right away. That's what light cav are used essentially. Light cav are basically used to chase down routing units, like I'm doing with my Numidian Jav cav. You can see here, all of our troops converge in the middle. However, I had more men and I was able to rout all of his very quickly. And at the same time, there we go. His general just got killed by one of my light cav. And there we go. Victory for me. My opponent played pretty well actually. He just needs to improve a little bit more on his micro.